Welcome back to the Bullet Grill House High School Sports Pregame Show. Craig Irwin, Brian Besh, Chris Moran, and a little introduction. We're doing it backwards, or kind of mid-stroke, I guess.
Kind of like Jeopardy, where they go into the second round and then they introduce everybody.
I mean, this is in memory of Alex Trebek. But Craig Irwin, 590N Sports, and you can find us on Facebook, and play-by-play broadcaster for Cold Spring Trojans, and really whatever Ken can con me into doing after the Cold Spring Trojans done playing football. And then to my left, you got Brian Besh. He is a writer extraordinaire. I watched him write an article the last Thursday and Friday night.
From the most comfortable of passenger seats. And it's I guess I need to give my plug here. It's Polk County Enterprise, San Jacinto News-Times, Tyler County Booster, Trinity County News Standard, and Houston County Courier. And you can catch everything, the best of probably, on our website at easttexasnews.com.
So a lot of good articles over there, just not just sports related, but between those counties. If you need to know anything, it's there. And I visit it at least twice a week, at a minimum twice a week. Then on the far end, in the red hoodie here at Bullet Grill House, you have Chris Moran, who 2 weeks ago was perfect in his pick'ems.
Look at you.
Yeah. I don't know about this week, though. I didn't check.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I never even posted them. I got so daggum busy. We got done on Wednesday, Thursday on the road. Work had me busy, and Friday, what did I do Friday? I was just as busy Friday.
Basically, that's code for you did a lot better than we did, so he's not going to put them on.
I'm good with the end of the season that I was perfect too, and so.
Yeah, Chris was like, I'm totally good with that. We're gonna have a pick'ems tonight here when we get to the third segment of the show. But Chris Moran, owner and imitation operator of Bullet Grill House, we know who the boss is. He said it earlier, and Barb's inside, and it is pretty warm in there, Brian. I went in there at the break, and good crowd in there for bingo night here on Wednesday nights. There's people still rolling in. But, man, we had a really good week this last week, and rolling into this week is we got our Lone Star Gridiron podcast that we did Monday nights, and you and I sit down and do them every Monday night. You can find them on all the major streaming networks. It's more broad, that podcast.
Yeah.
A lot more broad than what this show is. This show is more focused on our immediate listening area, and talking about Corrigan football, Livingston football, Cold Spring, Shepherd, and we're going to get into some of that here in a little bit. But
if you do want to expand and go anywhere from a little bit north of Lufkin all the way down to Houston, then that's your show.
Yeah, it is the 59N Sports Show. 59N Sports Show on the Lone Star Gridiron Network, and on all your streaming services: Apple, Spotify, Stitch, Amazon, iTunes. What else? iHeartRadio.
You did better than I would have done.
Yeah, so it's on all of the major streaming networks. So go. If you don't like us, you'll like the content.
Yeah, well, it's like our slogan. Even if you don't like us, please like us.
Yeah, that ain't no lie. I'm going to get some shirts made.
There you go.
So I know a lady over at Sanjack Promotions that can make shirts, and I'm going to get her to hook us up. Even if you don't like us, like us. And I'll put our YouTube channel on there.
I guess I might as well throw a plug in for us, too, because, I mean, if you do want something printed up and you got the time, and come on down to Polk County Enterprise, because we've got a print shop over there, and they do it as well.
So plenty of options right
Definitely.
there to jump out there. But jumping in, recapping some scores from the by-district round of the playoffs, 4A Division I. We talked about Tyler Chapel Hill and Livingston, 45-36 final there. Lumberton, number 6 seed Lumberton, defeats Palestine. 54-29 was the final there. And, boy, Palestine jumped out early and put Lumberton on the heels. Has got an early score, a couple early scores, and we were looking at that game and we're like, oh crap, here we go.
Yeah, it was something where obviously the score surprised us a little bit, because I think the both of us have the same opinion, to where Lumberton is a very, very good candidate to make it all the way to state this year, especially coming out of that region. It's a very tough region, obviously. You've got to get through some state-ranked teams, and It's just that Lumberton is so balanced, whether it be defense, offense, and the things that they can do on offense, the way they can change up between a power running game and go to a spread offense with a pass. They've got a lot that you have to contend with every time you step on the field with them, and if they find a weakness, chances are they're going to exploit it because they do have so much that they can do.
So the other two teams out of that district, Vider loses to Lindale 45-23, and Kilgore defeats Little Cypress Mauriceville 28-6. The only one standing out of Livingston's district is Lumberton.
Yeah.
In the area around of the playoffs.
Really tough district that Livingston's district has to go against, that the 10-4A over there, because you've got to go against the 9-4A, and that 9-4A for the last couple of years, you've had the Kilgore, you've had the Chapel Hill, you've got just a ton of teams over there that are very good, and they obviously, they've got the chance to go a few rounds deep, and they have the past couple of years.
Another tough by-district round is 4A Division II. You look at Silsbee defeats West Columbia 34-10. Belleville over West Orange Stark by 1 touchdown, 27-20 was the final there. Hampshire Finette beats Brookshire Royale 40-10, and Jasper falls to Sealy 31-10. Just as we get on the horse, and Jasper was in the pick'ems, and I think we went unanimously again with Jasper.
Yeah.
Am I right, Chris?
I don't know.
You don't know. You don't want to talk about it.
Well, and we mentioned it on Monday. Jasper kind of zigged whenever we zagged, and we had them as somebody that you think, hey, there's such tradition there at Jasper, they're going to have a really good season. Did not start out the season very well, and so we thought, okay, well, it's not going to be that great of a season. They start winning football games, and all of a sudden, before you know it, they're the second-place team in the district, and behind probably what is going to be a very, very, very incredible Silsbee season. And so then all of a sudden we're jumping on board, and as soon as we do, well,
yeah, we get slapped in the face.
They duck us again.
Hey, let's talk about 3A Division I. This by-district around District 9, District 10. District 10 comes out on top overall, as Diboll was the only team. They split at 500. I stand corrected. Woodville defeats East Chambers 27-20. Diboll defeats Buna 24-21. Orangefield over Shepherd 55-12. Anahuac defeats Westwood 42-14, and they get an extra round in the playoffs against a very tough Franklin football team this week. 3A Division II, Dangerfield defeats Anderson Shiro 41-6. Newton all over Hughes Springs 58-0. Hemp Hill falls to Wassacom 10-8. Big Sandy Harmony 25, New Waverly 20. They're in 3A Division II. Jumping down into 2A Division I, thing everybody here on 102.3 wants to listen to as you're on your way to the Cork and Camden football game. Timpson defeats Groveton 60-3. Your Cork and Camden Bulldogs defeat Garrison 28-7. Joaquin defeats Jewett-Leon 61-0, and Centerville puts up 50 against Shelbyville's 13. Out of 2A Division I. 2A Division II, Deweyville versus Tenaha. Deweyville wins that one 28-14. Cushing over Comasnell 27-21. Prince Carlisle throws up 74 to Evadale's 14. And Lovelady stays perfect on the season 62-0 over Overton.
Good season over there for Lovelady. Obviously, I think they're undefeated still at this point.
No, they are. They're 11-0 going into the area round of the playoffs, and I look for them to make a really deep run in the playoffs. That's a special group of kids over there.
I would think so. One of our papers, obviously, they report on Lovelady every single week over there at the Houston County Courier, and they've been talking about how wonderful that team is, and they have been for the last couple of years. The other thing, that Corrigan district, you've got the bottom two that fall out immediately in big fashion, but the top two in that district are kind of the cream of the crop, and obviously moving on, the Centerville and Corrigan, and I think we both kind of expected both of those games to show up.
No, we did, and Corrigan's got a huge matchup ahead of them, and we're going to talk about that as we get into the third segment of this show. But Thursday night, November 17th, which you're hearing this on Friday unless you're listening to it on the YouTube channel there at 590 Sports. Give us a subscribe and turn them notifications on so we can keep you up to date. But in 3A Division 1, Anahuac 9-2, Franklin 11-0, 7:30 kickoff at Waller ISD Stadium. Winner to face the winner of Hitchcock and Woodville, which that game is being played Friday night at Anahuac. So I got a phone call Monday saying, hey, man, you want to come to Anahuac and do a game Friday night? I'm like, man, I'm going to be in Athens. So my buddy over there, Trent, Anahuac Sports Live, he is going to be doing that game against Hitchcock and Woodville there in Anahuac. Nice facility over there in Anahuac.
Hopefully Diboll and Woodville can move on too, because they've both had very good seasons.
They have, and what concerns me about Diboll is the struggle they had this last week against Buna. That's what concerns me the most about Diboll. Now, I know Coach Morrison, and he knows how to rejuvenate and get those kids motivated, and I feel like that he'll do that this week, and we'll talk about that matchup here in a little bit. But I will be at that game tomorrow night, Thursday night, and in Waller watching Anahuac and Franklin, so we'll be able to talk about that Friday on our trip up to Athens. Moving into Friday night games, Galena Park North Shore 11-0 and Dickinson 8-3. Galena Park Stadium, 2 home games for Galena Park.
Yeah,
back to back in the playoffs. So they must have won the coin toss. Said, no, we're gonna play it at my house.
I would think so. I mean, I really do. I like the home games. I like the home field advantage, because I think you've got to give some of these teams, and I hope the UIL does this. I got on the soapbox on Monday, I think, but I really like the fact that in the first round, some of these teams are playing at their home field, and you get some sort of reward for doing so well in the regular season. And I know, the coin flips don't always come out that way, but I really think that we need to get to a point to where in the first round, because there's so many playoff football games where they've divided within classifications and then divisions within the classifications, and you got 4 deep going in every single one of these brackets. I think we need to get to a point to where you're rewarding some of the teams that are doing better in the regular season.
Another game that's, we'll talk about it here in a minute. Another home game is C.E. King and Clear Falls. That game is at C.E. King Stadium.
And if they're scoring 70 the week before, I don't want to face them the week after.
Yeah, and C.E. King's coming into that game in 6A Division 2, 7-4, Clear Falls 9-2. Games Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff at C.E. King Stadium right there off the Beltway. The winner to face the Heights and High Tire winner, which I expect the Heights to win that. But jumping back up into 6A Division 1, Atascocita will be at versus Clear Springs at League City's Challenger Columbia Stadium. The winner to face Lamar and Ridgepoint. And Humboldt Atascocita 9-2, Clear Springs 8-3. So I suspect that ought to be a pretty decent football game, and that's what I like about the area around playoffs. Really ought to be the by-district round, in my opinion. And we talked about that in our podcast Monday night. As we progress on through this, we'll bring up Smithville with the 5-6 record in the area round of the playoffs.
You don't want to say that there's too many teams in the playoffs, because the playoffs is a fun part of the season and extends. I mean, let's face it extends the playoffs by another week. But you start getting into much, much better games when you get to the area round.
No, you do. Moving into 6A Division 2, Humble Summer Creek 7-4, Alvin Shadow Creek 11-0 at Houston's TDECU Stadium, which is U of H's football stadium, is where that game's going to be played Friday night, 7 p.m. kick. I just mentioned it, C.E. King hosting Clear Falls at C.E. King Stadium. 5A Division 1, Mansfield Timberview 11-0, Barbers Hill 8-3. 7 o'clock kick, Cedar Park's Gumpton Stadium. Port Arthur Memorial 10-1, Frisco Westlake 7-4 at Abe Martin Stadium there in Lufkin. We was just there last week. 5A Division 2, Fort Bend Marshall 10-1, Waco University 6-5, Giddings Buffalo Stadium. The winner to face Lake Creek and Leander. 4A Division 1, Lumberton 10-1, versus Stafford, 7-4. Beaumont Memorial Stadium, the winner to face Chapel Hill in Bay City. Boy, is that going to be a shootout if it ends up Chapel Hill in Lumberton.
Yeah, you got to think that Lumberton also won that toss to be down there in Beaumont. But, yeah, I would really be surprised if we don't have that Chapel Hill-Lumberton matchup because we've been talking about it so much, and both of those teams, very good. We've seen them both. They both have the athletes, obviously, to go a long way in the playoffs. It's almost a shame that they got to play each other so soon.
No, it really is. Waco Conley, 9-2 in 4A Division II versus Hampshire Finette, 8-3. I think this is going to be a really good game. That game is at Willis Yates Stadium, and I should have put this one in the pick'em, but I didn't.
Shame on you.
Well, I got some other good games. 2 minutes, Ken says. In 3A Division I, Dieball versus Columbus at Huffman Falcon Stadium. Orangefield at Cameron Yo. Against Cameron Yo. That's at Iowa Colony's Freedom Field. Hitchcock versus Woodville. Hitchcock 10-1. Woodville 9-2 at Anahuac's White Stadium. They're in Anahuac. 3A Division I, Newton versus New Boston at Henderson Lions Stadium. Boy, that's a nice facility. We'll talk about it when we come into the next segment of this show. 2A Division I, Beckville versus Joaquin at Nacogdoches. Timpson versus Frankston at Rusk. Centerville at Honey Grove at Vans Vandal Stadium. And 2A Division II, Sims Bowie versus Deweyville at Center's Rough Rider Stadium. The winner to face Mart and Cushing.
Take a breath.
Whew. Lots of games. Lots of games. I love this time of year. Absolutely love this time of year. And what I love most about it is sitting here at Bullet Grill House out on the patio with the heaters going, watching some basketball, some college basketball going on. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't been out to Bullet Grill House, you're missing out. 401 Highway 156 in Point Blank, Texas. Great food, great atmosphere, cold drinks, whether it's tea or of the adult beverage. And you can't miss out coming over here to Bullet Grill House. Chris, y'all have a lot of stuff going on. We talked about you got Jeff Canada going to be here Friday night. Saturday morning, we got the College Game Day show that'll air from 8 to 9, then college football after that. You got breakfast on Saturday morning.
Breakfast Saturday. You know what's really good? You talk about the cooler weather right now. If you haven't had our brisket chili, it's an excellent choice, especially in this cold weather. We got brisket chili. We've always got some tomato basil soup. And right now, when it gets a little colder, we're doing some random soups of the day, we call them. I think tonight and maybe for the next couple of days, we have a cheesy, beefy potato soup. And I think our next one, probably Friday, we're going to do a beef stew. So always ask about kind of what we may have that's not on the menu if you want to try something a little different. But again, it's super good chili time.
I mentioned it a little bit on the college show, the first segment. I ordered something last week that wasn't even on the menu. I don't think it is, and you can tell me if it is or not because I think you know. I ordered like this super nacho plate, and I said, I don't want fajitas, I don't want beef. Can you put brisket on it? And they did it. And I don't know if that's like a normal thing for you guys, but they did it. It was amazing. And I took pictures of it and everything, and it was a very good meal.
Yeah, no, we have we've got some set nacho, like we call them the loaded chip, the set loaded chip plates that you can always do, but you can modify them however you want. You can build whatever you want, however you want, any base, any meat, any whatever toppings you want. Build the way you want it. I hate getting that signature one that you got some things that you don't like. No, build it, stack it as high as you can.
The wife and I was here this last week and this last Saturday, and we had the bacon cheddar nachos, which was absolutely good. And it was just right. We were like hungry, but not like starving. And it filled the gap and got us home, got us to bed. So you're listening to the Bullet Grill House High School Sports Pregame Show here on 102.3 The Eagle. When we come back, everybody's favorite segment, the Pick'ems.